Hey guys, welcome back to the MCUHQ and welcome to my episode 5 spoiler breakdown of WandaVision. And man, this was a damn good episode. So without further ado, let's hop into the breakdown. Full spoilers in this video. If you haven't watched the episode, hurry up because it's impossible to not see spoilers for this episode. So we get a previously on WandaVision that changes a line at the end of episode 3 and 4, when Vision asks where Geraldine is, Wanda says, "Oh, she left, honey. She had to rush home." But in the previously for this episode, Wanda says, "She's gone. She didn't belong here." I don't really know why they changed it, but they did. And I did see a thing saying, imagine how insane it would have been if they went back and edited that into episode 3. But they really can't do that, can they? But yeah, not really sure why they decided to make that change. So, Marvel logo, and I believe, to my knowledge, this episode was inspired by family ties. Like, the intro is even the same. So, Billy and Tommy will not shut up, and Vision, he goes to get the binkies, phases them into his head like they're in his ears, and then makes a joke. He says, "Isn't noise canceling their primary directive?" And so Wanda cannot shut these kids up. She's trying to use her magic to do it, and she just can't. So she does not have control over her children, and as we'll find out later in this episode, she also doesn't have control over Agnes or Vision. Or at least not full control over Vision. And so, right when they need help, Agnes walks right in and she says, "Hiya, kids," and then Vision has to use a pillow to phase into Paul Bettany instead of being purple. And she's just ready to go. You know, she's ready to babysit him. She's got all this stuff. She has like some lavender to calm him down. She goes to hunt down dark liquor. Like, she is on top of it. She knows exactly what she's doing. Right when Wanda needs help, Agnes is there, and this is a suspicion I had from episode 1, that Agnes always has what they need, and Vision confirms that theory later in the episode. I'm so proud of myself. And so the conversation's kind of awkward, and Agnes says, "Do you want to take that again?" And then I can't remember what she says, something about holding the kids, and she says, "Should we just take it from the top?" And Wanda and Vision are so confused, and after they start laughing, and Wanda's like, "Oh, it's nothing, she's fine." Vision's like, is it? In my non-spoiler video, I said this, Vision gets his own story in this episode. This is the best episode for Vision, and it is. I really like what they do with Vision, this episode of his investigation and realizing his wife is cuckoo. It's silent, there's nothing there. Vision and Wanda realize the kids shut up. They go to look in the crib, kids aren't there. Billy and Tommy are standing behind them, now toddlers, and Agnes is on the counter drinking that liquor she was looking for, and really does not pay attention to the fact that they grew just like that. And then she has a line that says, "Kids can't control them no matter how hard you try," which is 100% absolutely a just reference to the fact that Wanda is not in control of what her children do. She couldn't shut them up. She can't prevent them from aging up. They're independent. Now, I love this title screen. It's great. Does it go on a little long? Yeah, I don't care. I really loved it, especially the Baby Vision picture. I loved the Baby Vision picture. That was hilarious. I think it would have been hilarious if they showed like his birthing pod, but I get why they didn't, but that would have been hilarious if it was just his birthing pod. So, back to outside of Westview. I like what they're doing where they're cutting between sitcom and outside of Westview. I think that's a good way to do it. We're not stuck in the sitcom all the time, constantly wondering what's happening with everyone's new favorite MCU trio, Monica, Darcy, and Jimmy. So Monica wakes up, and they were doing like some scans of her, some tests, and they get it back. All of the scans are blank, like it's just white, which I think that might be, I think Monica is manifesting her powers. In the comics, she has a few names. She starts out as a Captain Marvel, changes the name to Spectrum, and then again changes her name to Photon. Photon is what she would end up being in the MCU. I'm just guessing because that was her mom's like call sign. Whatever the name is in the military, she was Maria Photon Rambeau, so I think Monica would just pick up that name. Got her power similar to Captain Marvel, some extraterrestrial dimensional explosion thing. And I think this is kind of the first time she's manifesting her powers, and something was screwing with the scanner. I mean, she is in Captain Marvel too, so she'll probably have her powers by then or fully grasp them in that movie. And Monica just leaves. She's like, nah, we're done. We're going to the briefing. And they go to the briefing, and acting director Dick Wad Hayward is kind of running through Wanda's past, saying that she was, her parents were killed in Sokovia, then she worked with Ultron against the Avengers, and Jimmy steps in and he's like, okay, you kind of oversimplified that. He says, that she became an Avenger, and Hayward's not a cool dude. Some people think Hayward is mean or evil. I don't think so. I just think he's just not a good leader, kind of a jerk. And he is acting director, not permanent, and I think they want to set it up so that way someone better becomes the director, like Monica Rambeau. And they mention the Sokovia Accords here, and they also mention Lagos, and Hayward just basically straight up says that Wanda's a terrorist, to which Monica's not happy about that statement. That's cool. So they have like some stats on Wanda. It's cool. They actually have like Elizabeth Olsen's birth year and height to really just to keep it all intact. Be like, yeah, Wanda's 31. She's whatever, 5'6". Just keep that all in line with what Elizabeth Olsen actually is. So the timeline really isn't confusing. And her parents, I cannot for the life of me remember what their names were, but not Eric. Eric Lencher is her dad's name in the comics because she's Magneto's daughter. But those aren't her parents in this, as the show made it very clear. And that might be why we end up seeing later on Evan Peters comes in, because the Fox Quicksilver is the son of Magneto. That's how they might tie it together. I don't know. You'll see when we get to Quicksilver that I really am so clueless as to how this works. They mentioned that she doesn't have an alias. In the comics, she's Scarlet Witch, and I think they hinted that she'll actually be called Scarlet Witch in the show. Whether she calls herself that or someone else called her that, I could totally see someone else calling her that, since everything involving her is red, and every time we saw color in the first 2 episodes, it was red, and the primary color in the commercial is red, and her magic is red, and her outfit's red. I could totally see someone else calling her Scarlet Witch. Hayward brings up footage, so this is something we'll see. In the trailer we saw this, a hint of it. Hayward brings up security cam footage of some very well placed cameras, by the way, of Wanda stealing Vision's corpse, and when we see it in the sword lab, it's in pieces. It's like what C-3PO looked like in Empire Strikes Back. Like, they are doing a full autopsy on Vision, and Hayward says that this goes against not only the Sokovia Accords, but Vision's will, that he doesn't want to be used as anybody's weapon. So what was Sword doing with him? And why did Sword take him? Why did the Avengers not get his body? Why did Sword get his body, if not to make weapons? Okay, so then we get to Sparky, and Billy and Tommy, they're cleaning in the sink, and Wanda walks in, figures out something behind their back. It's a dog. And Vision walks in his human form because he's afraid someone's going to pop in. Right then, Agnes comes in with like a dog bed shelter thing, which then Vision confirms my suspicion. Agnes always just happens to have what they need right when they need it. I love that I caught that like right away in the first episode, first time Agnes did it. So Sparky tries to kill himself. Some people think it's intentional. And real quick, Sparky actually is in the comics. He's in the I can't remember the writer's name of the comic, but they have a dog and it's a synthezoid. It's a lot like Vision. His name's Sparky, so they just kept that name. And Wanda doesn't care about concealing her ability. She just makes a dog collar for Sparky. Agnes doesn't notice. Vision's upset about that. And the kids aged themselves up to 10 because the Vision said they shouldn't have a dog till they're 10. So they just age themselves up. Agnes does not care. She kind of makes a joke of, let's hope the dog doesn't do that. because Agnes is evil. This is exactly what she wants, so she's not going to make a huge stink about it. And so this is where it's weird, because we go back outside of Westview, and they're talking about Endgame, and Monica says, Wanda, if Thanos didn't start shooting, Wanda would have killed Thanos single-handedly. So they have a play-by-play of that battle. Where did they get a play-by-play of that battle? Like, who told it to them? Like, was War Machine sitting there telling a War Machine story, and he's talking about how he saw Wanda just destroying Thanos? Whatever. And Jimmy says Captain Marvel could have done it too, to which Monica just kind of doesn't look happy about that, doesn't acknowledge it, changes the conversation real quick, saying they're not talking about her, they're talking about Wanda. What's her deal? Why does she not like Captain Marvel? I mean, it might be for the same reason that pretty much no one likes Captain Marvel, but I don't think so. I think there's some in-universe reason for why she doesn't. Maybe it's because Carol didn't come to Earth when Maria had cancer, but she would come to call Fury, and I don't know. There's a couple possibilities. I think they'll explore it in Captain Marvel too. After all, Monica, again, is in that movie. They go back to the room where Monica's outfit was, the evidence, and she takes Wu's gun, which is a big deal, shoots at it, and the bullets just kind of bounce off it, and she looks, the pants are 87% Kevlar. She went in wearing a bulletproof vest. That vest transformed into a Kevlar outfit for her. So something was protecting her. And Monica says, it's not an illusion, Wanda's just kind of rewriting reality. Which is a great segue back into Wanda's reality. The transitions in this show are gold. We're back at Vision's work, and I did notice he isn't awkward anymore. He's a lot more comfortable at work. Like in the first episode, someone said, it's like, hey, you're like computer yourself. He's like, I am not. I am a carbon-based organism such as yourself. He's not like this anymore. People, talk about Norm made some reference to something similar to that. Vision just kind of doesn't care. He's not awkward about it anymore. I like that subtle development that he's more used to Westview at this point. Vision gets an email from Monica talking about how Wanda's doing all of this. Everyone in the office reads the email. It's spooky. Some more of the horror multiverse elements we're going to be getting. He puts his hands on Norm's head, snaps Norm out of it. Norm is panicked. He's saying, she did this, I need to call my sister, my dad's dying, all this, like, you have to stop her. Vision then puts Norm back in, and it's worth noting that Norm did not say Wanda, he said she, meaning it could be Agnes, could be Wanda. Really too early to tell. The theory still stands that they think it's all Wanda, when really someone else could be at play, and we'll see that especially when Wanda leaves the force field, because it's only been a couple weeks since Tony's funeral, but this Wanda is such a sharp contrast from the one who was talking to Hawkeye at Tony's house. And so episode 4 actually spoiled this moment, because there's a production error in episode 4 where on Norm's bio it says Vision snaps him out of it, Vision puts him back in, and there's some other information on there. But they hadn't seen the 80s episode at that point where this happens. So this is for sure a production error of, put up the wrong bio sheet for Norm. So yeah, episode 4 spoiled this episode. We're back at the Vision residence, and Vision's at work on a Saturday. And Wanda says it's Monday, and her kids say this morning was Saturday. Time is flying, like, whew. I mean, what was it? Jimmy said they're going to be empty nesters by dinner. And so Wanda switches it. She can't control the kids, so she can't change what they say. And she just says there's an emergency at the office, he had to run in. And Vision needed a distraction. Distraction from what? Not the family. Vision was getting close to figuring out something was up. He got sent to work so he could be away from everything. And then that ended up backfiring and gave him all the information he needed that Wanda's a problem. Wanda talks about her brother. Briefly, she kind of briefly seems out of it. Like for a split second, she breaks character. And I did see a theory that's actually not too crazy of a one, saying this is the moment she pulled in Pietro from the multiverse. We'll find out, but it's not really a bad theory. There's a drone outside. You can actually hear the drone flying outside. I love that. And this is the moment I said in my non-spoiler review, something gives you chills. That's this next scene. So they send in an 80s drone because it doesn't need to be changed, because Monica said if they send in something that doesn't need to be changed, it'll be A-okay. So they send in an 80s drone that looks more high-tech than the 2023 sword drone. And so Wanda was looking at it, her eyes go red, and then picture cuts and all the screens at the sword facility go to please stand by, because Wanda had to kill the feed on the sitcom so that she could have the moment where she walks out of Westview, because she is coming out. And it's awesome. They say perimeter breach, and we see like a figure appear and disappear, and then Wanda walks straight out, no hesitation. Just comes out, she's holding the drone, says, "Is this yours?" She throws it to him. And wow, I mean, Wanda, they could make her the best villain in the MCU if they wanted. I mean, she was scary and badass in this scene. Has a lot of cool lines. She says something like, "You don't bother me, I won't bother you, stay away from my home." And to Monica, she kind of makes her little magic. She's like, "Oh, you're still here." And the two of them are talking. She blames everything on them. And at the end, she said, "I have everything I could ever want. No one will ever take it from me again." And she just lifts her hand up and kind of goes around. Every soldier's eyes turn red. And then she does a little flick, which is awesome. I love her hand move. She was like, Elizabeth Olsen nails those hand movements as Wanda. All of them guns on Hayward. For a second, I was like, oh my god, Wanda's going to kill the acting director of Sword. But she doesn't. Ends up just being a distraction so she can go back into Westview. She turns it all red, which I just believe to be a thicker, more powerful barrier. So they really can't get in anymore. It's kind of just stopping any feed from getting in. So now the only thing there's to do is get out, which we've seen in the mid-season trailer. Vision is going to try to do. All the guns come off Hayward. It was just a distraction, but whew, it was intense. I mean, they have the ability to make Wanda a awesome villain. I mean, she might be an antagonist in Multiverse of Madness. I'm convinced that might happen. Okay, commercial time. This is a cool commercial. We get a paper towel brand called Lagos paper towels, which I'm upset. It took me until they showed the logo. I totally forgot about Lagos, even though they kind of showed it earlier in the episode. They're like, "Yeah, remember Lagos?" So for a second I was just sitting there enjoying the commercial. Then the logo came up. I'm like, oh, Lagos. And the motto for Lagos paper towels is golden. For when you make a mess you didn't mean to. That's hilarious. So let's see, we've gotten commercials for Stark, Hydra, and Lagos. I wonder if we'll get one for Ultron. Maybe we'll get one for Thanos. I mean, the Halloween episode probably won't be Thanos, but the last sitcom episode could be a Thanos ad. Like, I wouldn't be surprised, since these are all ads that are things that had huge impacts on Wanda's life. You know, Stark bombed her house, Hydra gave her powers, Lagos started the Civil War. They're looking for Sparky. Wanda let Sparky out when they were going to the drone. Didn't really think anything of it. So now they're looking for him. He died eating poisonous bushes that Agnes is growing right outside of her house. Almost as if Agnes wanted the dog to die. And Wanda tells them not to age themselves up to an age that they can just move past it. She says, "The urge to run from this feeling is powerful," and then tells them not to. Take your own damn advice, Wanda. And they say Wanda can't bring back the dead. I forgot to mention something that I feel like I should mention. These are the things that happens when you're taking notes but don't pause it. You miss things. So first off, Wanda's accent did come back. It just got really dark. Jesus. Wanda's accent did come back when she was talking to Sword, her Sokovian accent. Wasn't super heavy, but it was there. And also, Monica says she's going to call some aerospace engineer or whatever he was. Who's that person? I don't know. A lot of people are saying Reed Richards. Could be. I don't think so. I think they might bring in someone else. I think they're still waiting on the Fantastic Four. But yeah, I have no ideas. We'll find out in a couple episodes though. Okay. To the fight. So this was the big climax of the episode. Wanda and Vision's first fight, which is funny because there was an actual fight in Civil War, but this is their first real fight. So Wanda cannot entirely control Vision. He even says, "You can't control me like you can the others." She says, "Can't I?" And then tries to go with credits. It doesn't work. Vision's like, "Nah." So he tells Wanda to stop. She doesn't know what he's talking about. She said she didn't do it. She doesn't know how anything started. And Vision, he's like, "Look, stop controlling them. Norm has a family." And this was intense. So he says, "Stop lying to me." And he lifts himself up in the air. Wanda matches him. She's like, "You've never talked to me like that before." He says, "What's outside of Westview?" And the delivery that Paul Bettany gave on that line was incredible. Paul Bettany's a great actor. I feel like he doesn't get the recognition he deserves. I love Paul Bettany. And then when they finally lower themselves, Vision says, "There's no other children in Westview." And Wanda kind of makes a good point here. Kind of makes you think. She says, "Do you really think I'm controlling everyone?" Can't remember the example she gives of stuff like taking them to school, all of that, taking them to dentist appointments. Do you really think she controls all that? Vision says, "Every morning I walk to work, that playground's empty." And yeah, he's super onto her. She doesn't know how any of it started. Now, do we take her word for it? Honestly, I don't know. I mean, she's willing to point a ton of assault rifles at Hayward, so I don't know if I want to take Wanda's word for anything nowadays. But it's worth noting she doesn't know how any of it started. And I mean, in episode 2, when Jimmy said, "Who's doing this to you, Wanda?" she did look kind of confused. Knocked on the door, and Wanda did not do it. Now, I'm upset because I made the mistake of waking up Friday morning and opening my phone, to which I get a YouTube video right there talking about when Quicksilver appeared in WandaVision, and of course the thumbnail had to be Evan Peters, so I knew this was coming. Still didn't know how cool it would be. She opens it, and Vision says, "Who's this?" And the camera just pulls back, and we see the back of his head. And Aaron Taylor Johnson's Quicksilver, the MCU Quicksilver, had that hairstyle. Fox Quicksilver did not. He just had the full silver hair. Camera turns, Wanda's all shocked. It's Evan Peters at the door. Huge audience applause, and he says, long-lost little brother squeezes sister to death, gives her a massive hug, and then looks to Vision and says, "Who's this popsicle?" So what does any of that mean? Well, first off, Darcy does mention she recast Pietro, but no, this is not a recast. If it was a recast, Quicksilver would know who Vision was, because Quicksilver met Vision. Quicksilver was in the room when Vision was created. He fought alongside Vision. Quicksilver knows who Vision is. This Quicksilver does not know Vision. He said, "Who's this popsicle?" So it's either Fox Quicksilver or someone else entirely. And also, yes, this is not the attitude MCU Quicksilver had. MCU Quicksilver was overly serious. So did he come in from the multiverse? Quite possibly. Because, I mean, this is the start of the multiverse saga, and we're going to be getting multiverse stuff in Spider-Man 3 and Doctor Strange Multiverse Madness. This could be the first hint that the multiverse is open and people are crossing over. Wanda could have pulled them in. Mephisto or Agnes could have pulled them in. There is also a theory going around that this is Mephisto, just disguised as Quicksilver. I don't know. There's so many thoughts rushing through my mind on what this possibly means. All I know is that if this is Fox Quicksilver, mutants are officially in the MCU. That's all I have on the episode. I'm really looking forward to episode 6. If you've seen the leaks, you know that's the Halloween episode. We're going to get some Quicksilver stuff. I am so excited for that next episode. I've been pumped for the Halloween episode ever since they first showed that Super Bowl trailer when we saw Wanda in her comic-accurate outfit. I really want to binge the show. I hate that I can't. Each episode, for me, it's just getting better and better, and I imagine the Halloween episode is going to be even better. Probably even some action in it from what I've seen from a leak. Well, guys, so there you go. That's my spoiler breakdown for WandaVision Episode 5. What were your thoughts on the episode? What are some of your theories, thoughts, everything's happening? Talk to me about Evan Peters' Quicksilver, all down in the comments below. Leave a like on this video, subscribe, click on the bell icon to receive all notifications from the MCHQ. This can be it. Have a great day, guys.